Shalom. Welcome again to Reason and Truth Ministries. We are, let's say, culminating this night of study about care. And we talk about Tofel. You can go back and look at the previous teaching. And what we say to care means, what do we say to care mean? We say to attach and to what? To lack. And how we know that is what prayer and the whole act of prayer, to care means. How we know that is what to care mean. Remember last week when I closed and I said, when you care for something, it is actually demonstrated through actions, right? And when we think about care in this 21st century, we think about medicine, we think about hospice, we think about these institutions that now take care of our what? Responsibility. So then our parents go down in age. And when we want to put them in a hospice because they no longer are needed in our what? Vicinity or homes, because we don't feel that we have the what? The time, the ability, and the resources to care for them. So now we actually start to put more work upon ourselves and we pay for them to go into a hospice and where they know we're supposedly cared for. So this word, as we use it in our Western construct, it has this meaning of just medicine, medication, you're preserving it only for when it's beneficial to you. Has no type of relevance to what it really means. And last week as I closed, I said, remember tefillin and tefillin, right? The same tet and tav, tet and tav. And because of the use of these words, it carries a totally different meaning. Remember, we talk about that. And tefillin with the tav, it means to lack. It shows that you're lacking something in order to be shalom, to be whole. So this is why the Jews, they put on the headband and the armband. And the headband and the armband gives a clear meaning to what and who we belong to and how we ought to relate with who we belong to. So now all of this tradition that the Judaic culture, what they kept, you see they put on tefillin on their hand, and we read in Matthew 5, how to call it, what do they call it again? How do they call it again? Phylacteries. Remember, you're getting a little problem with that. Phylacteries. And the phylacteries is what they adorn themselves with. They array themselves with all their phylacteries, because when you look at a Jewish person in Israel, they have on the kippah, they have on the tzitzit, they have on the garment, the levosh, the buged, all these different garments, all significant to what is to come. Because remember, we read in Revelation that he said, now he will bring and give you a new garment. His garment. And it's going to be levin, meaning white as snow. Levin, meaning that garment, now he is going to actually make that garment for you. The same way he made garment for who? Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Eden, the first Eden that is destroyed. Revelation, Eden restored. So now we're seeing the fulfillment is in Yeshua. So now this tefillin is what they actually and literally tie around their hands. They tie it so tight around the hand and then they wrap it around the finger. What is to bring to remembrance that all actions that they perform, it comes from their mind. And that which is in their mind is not what? Is not seen, it's invisible, and it's only when it reaches in the hand, then it's what? Then it's visible. So now the hand, as we said last week, is the yod, yad. And yad is what we talk about hand, that which the yad, right? And if we look at it in Paleo Hebrew, right? And the yad and a delete, a door. And the hand is what opens the door. So the yad, which is the literal hand of mankind, is opening a door. So now it's very significant. So the tefillin, which is wrapped around the hand, it's showing you that all the ideas that you have here is now formulating in this realm. It's coming from one place into this realm. And we know that the mind is not seen by anyone. Have anybody ever seen their mind? No. You can't see a mind. We could see our brain. We could see all the synapses. We could see all these the electrical charges that are given off by red spots and blue spots based upon these instruments that we have now, that we can actually read the actions and the behavior of our mind. But our brain, but we cannot see our mind. And this is why scientists today, they're looking for that invisible man in your brain. The invisible man they can't see, because the brain is so compact where he's going to fit. He can't fit anyway. So now, so the tefillin is what they wrap and is actually bringing it out. So now this here, it speaks about, and it's closest to the heart, so it speaks about the emotion of man and all our behavior and what have you. And as we continue now to relate with our emotion from this house, it comes out through our hand. But then we shouldn't only rely on what comes out of our hand out into this physical world, because it can be very deceptive, because it's based upon our emotion, and our emotion, what? It ebbs and flows. It comes and goes. It's not consistent, and it's not an absolute. It is pendulumic. We change. We can get happy, we can get angry, we can get sad, we can get joyous, we can express all these different feelings because of usability. We have that ability. We are the only animal species that has that ability of usability, to differentiate or to laugh. Animals can't laugh other than the human element that has the Salim of Hashem, the Salim, which is the shadow, or the, as a translated, image, but it's literally shadow or the darkness of the Creator. This, what they actually do, every time you wrap it on your hand, what it's telling you? You're lacking something to make your emotions what it ought to be. So every time you wrap it around your hand, and you only wrap it after. This is wrapped after because there's a sequence. You tie it where? On your head, around your mind. And when you go home, you could read Deuteronomy chapter 6. You can read the whole thing, because it speak about that there where you're going to actually take, and given the commands where you shall take my word and write it upon your head, the doorpost of your house, right? Band it upon your hand, and teach your children to observe it when they go out, when they come in, when they sit down, when they lay down. Teach them, because this is what we ought to do with His word. His word had to be before us and through us. So now, but before we can even rely on what comes out here, we must have what? Something tied here. And what is lacking in our mind is the right to differentiate between right and wrong. So now if we don't know His word, and His word is not taught to us, and we don't ask questions concerning why we're doing that, because you see now, when you do this, your children will ask, Papa, Ava, why are you putting on tefillin? Why are you doing this? And you shall tell them, it's for a zakah. And a zakah there is a masculine, it means masculine. It means male, because that's also a Hebrew word that is used for man. But zakah is speaking about the masculine form. And that now, it speaks about remembrance. So it's the men who ought to set the precedent to bring a remembrance of what? Hashem's word. So now, to care, we know and we have done the study, it means that you're lacking something in your head. And the only how that can be fulfilled is through Hashem. And we need to be attached to something in order for this lack to be full. But how and where this could happen, how and where this lack and this attachment, where could it take place? You see, Yahweh told Abraham and the 3 patriarchs, listen, I want to dwell in you. I want to live in you. But Moses and these, when they came out of Israel, they said, no, we want to be like those other people. We want to worship our God like how they worship their God. We want a king like other nations. He said, no, I want to be your king. I want to be here in you, and you know me. I want you to self-govern yourself. No, we don't need to self-govern. We want to be just like the heathen. We want to be just like the Canaanites. We want to be just like the Jebusites. We want to be just like how they are. They have a king, and the king say X, we do X. The king say Y, we do Y. So we don't want to be responsible. We want to be just like other nations. We don't want to self-govern ourselves. We want a king. We want a king. Go, read it. Read Joshua. Read Judges. Read when they come out. They wanted a king for themselves. They didn't want Hashem.